time to think about what the big picture dream was. There was no plan. It was just, let's get through. You know, at the end of the day, I'm really just proud of.
For years, Meghan Markle had the world fooled, perfectly sculpting her image like a Hollywood movie director obsessed with every single frame. Every photo, every appearance, every spontaneous laugh, all of it was designed. The cameras caught what she wanted them to see, a flawless blend of grace, vulnerability, and power. To millions, she was the modern-day Duchess, bold, independent, breaking royal barriers, and shining with authenticity. But honey, that was just the highlight reel. What if the real story behind those fancy Montecito gates wasn't a fairy tale at all? What if, behind those million-dollar smiles, there was something darker, something chilling? Well, according to one woman who actually lived inside that mansion, it was all an act. For the very first time, the woman who cared for Archie and Lilibet, the nanny who witnessed the chaos firsthand, is finally breaking her silence. And what she's saying, it flips the whole Sussex narrative upside down. She says working in that home wasn't about caring for two royal toddlers, it was about surviving an illusion.
Prove that you're enough. You have to prove that you're pretty enough. You have to prove that you're smart enough. You prove that you're a good wife or a good friend. And I was like, I am just so done with.
From day one, the nanny said something felt off. Even before she got the job, the listing itself was strange. Nothing like a typical royal posting. It didn't feel like a hiring notice, it read more like a casting call. The description said things like discreet, emotionally intelligent, adaptable, not easily intimidated. But between those polite little phrases, there was a hidden message loud and clear. Don't you dare outshine Meghan. Rumors among applicants whispered that Meghan didn't want anyone in her house who might steal attention. Candidates weren't judged just by their experience. They were judged by their aura, their presence, even how they walk.
Confirmed now that Meghan's mother Doria has returned to the U.S., the Sussexes have hired.
One agency worker remembered that some resumes were tossed out for being too polished. It's like competence itself was a threat. The message was crystal clear. And this wasn't about childcare, this was about serving a brand, the Meghan Markle brand. When the nanny finally got the call, she was thrilled. Of course, who wouldn't be? Working for royals, right? But the excitement quickly turned to anxiety. The agency warned her, multiple interviews ahead. First with assistants, then with a representative, and finally, the big one, Meghan and Harry themselves. Before she even met them, she was forced to sign an ironclad NDA. No photos, no posts, no outside contact without permission. That's when she realized this wasn't a family home. It was a fortress. The day she finally walked through the mansion doors, she was in awe. Everything gleamed. Every pillow perfectly placed, every vase aligned like a museum exhibit, but something felt wrong. The silence wasn't peaceful, it was controlled. It felt like even the air was told how to behave. She was told to go about her day, naturally observe, mingle, and just be herself. What she didn't know, every move was being recorded. Hidden cameras followed her every gesture, every tone of voice. Later, she learned it wasn't just for security. No, it was Meghan's test. Meghan watched those recordings like a director reviewing auditions, judging her staff like actors on set. Smile too much, you're attention-seeking. Pause too long, you're unreliable. The perfect hire wasn't the best caregiver, it was the one who could quietly fade into Meghan's shadow. When Meghan finally sat across from her, the questions weren't about kids or safety. No. Meghan leaned in, eyes locked, and asked things like, how do you handle being corrected? And what do you do when people misunderstand you? The nanny said it didn't feel like an interview. It felt like psychological profiling. Meghan's stare wasn't listening. It was measuring. By the end, the nanny didn't feel like she'd met a family. She felt like she'd auditioned for a role in Meghan's personal show. And like every production, there was only one person with final say Meghan. Even after getting the job, that tension never left. Harry, she noticed, was kind but distant. Sweet but cautious, like a man constantly walking a tightrope. He always deferred to Meghan's choices, especially when it came to the kids. Harry, the royal raised on order and discipline, wanted a Norland nanny professional, structured, proper. Meghan wanted something totally different, modern, relaxed, and aligned with her brand of motherhood. The disagreement was never loud, but the air was thick with quiet conflict. Harry would mention stability, Meghan countered with privacy. In the end, Meghan won. Uniforms disappeared. Routines dissolved. The nanny's job shifted. It was no longer about care, it was about control. Weeks passed, and yet, strangely, she saw almost nothing of Archie or Lilibet. Their photos were everywhere on mantles, in frames, on walls, but their presence? Practically invisible. There were no toys scattered, no giggles in the halls, no mess that children usually leave behind. The playroom was spotless, too spotless. Even the nursery was often locked. At first, she told herself it was for privacy, but it didn't add up. No diaper deliveries, no stroller walks, no pediatric appointments. Staff spoke about the children like they were taboo, careful, guarded, scared to even mention their names. Something inside that mansion didn't match the fairy tale the world was being fed. When Meghan showed up in public cradling her baby bump, the nanny said she felt confused. She had been there during that time, and what she'd seen didn't line up with the media's timeline. But no one dared to question it. Those who asked too much, gone overnight. Phones confiscated, contracts ripped up. Everyone learned one rule: fast pretend. Always pretend. One housekeeper. They whispered to her one night, "Everything here is managed, even what we're supposed to believe." The nanny tried to stay focused, just do her job and survive the tension. But when the Netflix documentary came out, she realized the extent of the illusion. The world saw sunshine, laughter, a playful Archie, a glowing Meghan, and Harry in the garden. But the nanny? She froze the moment she saw the footage. The background, the furniture, even the lighting, none of it matched the real house. "That's not our living room," she whispered. "That's not where we lived." To the world, it looked like home, but to her, it was a set. Because behind those perfect frames, laughter was rare, affection was measured, and every word felt rehearsed. And that's when it hit her, maybe the fairy tale everyone adored was just another production. As days turned into weeks, that perfectly curated silence inside the Sussex mansion began to feel suffocating. It wasn't peace, it was control. Everyone walked on eggshells pretending everything was fine because that's what Meghan wanted the world to believe, but inside, it was a completely different story. The nanny revealed that the mood inside the home could shift like lightning. Meghan's energy was unpredictable. One minute, she'd float through the hallways, smiling sweetly, offering tea, chatting about mindfulness and gratitude. The next minute, she'd turn ice cold, snapping over the smallest imperfection. The nanny recalled one afternoon that still gives her chills. Meghan walked downstairs holding a stack of freshly washed shirts. One of them, just one, had a faint crease. Meghan stared at it, silent, expressionless, before saying quietly, "This is unacceptable." Not shouting, not scolding, just cold, deadly cold. Then she turned and walked away, leaving the air frozen behind her. Everyone in that room knew what that meant. Someone was about to lose their job. Sure, enough. By that evening, one housekeeper was dismissed, no explanation, no goodbye. That's when the nanny realized this wasn't a home. It was a place where fear ruled every corner. Desperate to hold on to her sanity, the nanny began keeping notes. She wrote quietly at night, long after the cameras went dark. In those notes, she recorded the eerie stillness of the children's rooms. Toys arranged but never used, baby monitor lights always off. Another entry read, "Harry looks tired. He doesn't joke anymore. He listens, nods, but avoids eye contact." Then came the night that changed everything. It was supposed to be a cozy family evening dinner, laughter, a few shots for their private collection. The nanny was told to set the table and make everything look authentic. Flowers arranged, candles lit, 2 little high chairs ready. But when she asked softly if she should bring Archie and Lilibet, Meghan responded smoothly, "They'll join later." Except they never did. Hours passed, dinner came and went, and those high chairs sat empty. Then the film crew arrived. Meghan smiled for the camera, Harry poured wine, laughter echoed on cue. The footage that later surfaced online showed a glowing, happy family dinner, except the nanny remembered every detail. Those chairs were empty. From that moment on, she couldn't unsee it. Every so-called family moment was staged, every scene rehearsed, even the children had become props in a never-ending performance. One afternoon, the illusion cracked literally. A tray of glasses slipped in the kitchen, shattering across the floor. The sharp crash startled everyone. The nanny instinctively stepped forward to protect Harry, who was barefoot nearby. But instead of concern, Meghan's face twisted in irritation. "Do we need to record that again?" she muttered, eyes flicking up toward the ceiling cameras. That's when the nanny's blood ran cold. It hit her. They weren't just living under surveillance. They were performing under it. Weeks later came the breaking point, the argument that revealed the truth behind their picture-perfect image. Harry's voice was low, trembling, but determined. "They're my children too, Meg. They need a normal life. Not this." Meghan's reply cut through the air like a blade. "Normal is what ruined your mother. I won't let that happen to me or to them." The nanny froze in the hallway, holding her breath. The silence that followed felt endless. That night, she saw Harry sitting alone in the garden, staring up at the dark windows of his own home, and for the first time, he looked like a man who'd lost control of his own story. After that, the mansion felt haunted not by ghosts, but by tension. The nanny said it was like walking on glass, one wrong word, one misplaced glance, and she'd vanish just like the others. Sleep became impossible. Even in her dreams, she could hear the click of Meghan's heels echoing across marble floors. And then came the incident that made her finally decide to leave. She'd been ordered to prepare Archie's playroom for a spontaneous photo shoot. Everything had to look natural. Toys scattered, books open, shoes placed, just so. But as she started arranging things, she noticed the tags still on the toys. Some boxes weren't even opened. When she pointed it out to another staff member, the woman just sighed and whispered, "Don't worry, they'll never notice." they're not really for him. Later that week, those very images were released to the media. Meghan reading to Archie, surrounded by toys, all those same props, tags removed, lighting perfect. The Duchess shares a sweet family moment. The caption read, "The nanny said she stared at the photos and felt sick. That's when she knew she couldn't stay. But leaving wasn't easy. The contracts, the NDAs, the legal walls built around that. In the house, they weren't just about privacy. They were chains. So she planned her exit quietly. One night after finishing her shift, she packed her things, left a polite resignation note, and slipped away under the guise of visiting family. By the next morning, her access card was deactivated, her phone cut off from the private server, and her name erased from staff logs. She was gone, just like that. Weeks later, former employees began reaching out, cleaners, assistants, even a gardener. Each one told the same kind of story. Long hours, constant fear, cameras everywhere. Silence enforced by NDAs. And for a while, the nanny tried to move on, but she couldn't shake the emptiness, not from what she'd seen, but from what she hadn't. The hardest part, she later admitted, wasn't what I witnessed. It was what I didn't. The laughter, the warmth, the life. For a home filled with cameras, it was the emptiest place I've ever been. That was the moment the illusion began to crack, and the world's favorite fairy tale started to unravel piece by piece.